Welcome to this week's edition of Mountain Outhouse News. I'm your host, Jam Jam. This is the crazy to happen in running this week. This week's stories include Burrell retires, a new LazCon, and what is the R9 of the Grand Canyon? We kick off this week's show with a retirement announcement from an icon of our sport and the head of one of the most important brands in ultra running over the past 30 years. Burrell, who has been the brand VP at Ultimate Direction for the past few years, announced his retirement this week, citing taking time for himself to play more. Don't worry about him leaving the trail scene anytime soon, as he plans to continue his work on the Fastest Known Time website and podcast into the foreseeable future. I just want to thank Buzz for being such an important part of the trail scene and ambassador for so long, and enjoy that retirement. Ricky Gates is publishing his first book, due out next year, all about his run across America back in 2017. Called Cross Country, a 3,700-mile run to explore unseen America, the hardcover book not only features stories, but a collection of photographs from across his journey from the east to west coasts. Check it out. The Runners of the Year nominations for the 2019 USATF Mountain Ultra Trail Council just closed, with over 80 athletes being nominated for 17 different awards. Nominations were open to anyone through November 29th, but voting will take place only by members of the USATF MUT Council, a total of 40 members scattered across the US, eligible to vote. Stay tuned for results December 19th, announced at the USATF annual meeting. Speaking of transcontinental journeys, Lazarus Lake is back at it, folks. After his LazCon from a couple years back, he's now dreaming of a new journey. This time from the northernmost part of the contiguous 48 states to the most southern tip. Where exactly will that take him? Well, that would have him starting at Northwest Angle Inlet in Lake of the Woods, Minnesota, and end at either Ballast Key or Western Dry Rocks, Florida, depending on the seasonal tide. More on that as it develops. This next story is coming to us from northern Arizona and the likes of Rob Krar and Buck Blankenship, who put a new spin on the rim cubed idea and instead embarked on a R to the 9th adventure. This took them from the Rendezvous Coffee House bar in downtown Flagstaff, an 80-mile bike trip to the south rim of the Grand Canyon, then a run down to the Colorado River, and all the way back in a day. So that's Rendezvous, Ride, Rim, Run, River, Run, Rim, Ride, Rendezvous. 9 R's, 1 day, pretty sweet. The pair finished the 174-mile adventure in 12 hours, 27 minutes. This week in clean sport, we have another doping suspension, this time Etefarahu Wadaj of Ethiopia, who tested positive for EPO and testosterone. She recently was 8th at the Toronto Marathon in 2:27, and 3rd in Ottawa earlier this year in 2:28. Dopes. Now for some race results from the past weekend. First, we head to the Beast Coast in the annual running of the JFK 50 mile. This fall classic, now in its 57th year, saw Seth Ruling put himself on the national ultra map with a big win here in 5 hours 38 minutes. He built up a big lead on the Appalachian Trail section of the race, arriving to the C&O Canal path a full 7 minutes ahead of second, with even enough time to change his shoes into guess what, a pair of Nike Vaporflies, before hitting the final flat 24 miles to the finish. Zach Bitter was closing in on him, however, but ran out of time, finishing second in 5:42, with Luke Paulson third in 5:44. For the ladies, it was a lot closer, with Cecilia Flory winning in 6:46, Carolyn Veltri second a minute back, and Ellie Pell third in 6:48. Now over to Hawaii for the Xterra World Champs, where we saw a repeat of last week's World Mountain Running Champs, with Grayson Murphy taking the win here on the half marathon course in 1 hour 33 minutes. On the men's side, it was no surprise to see Joe Gray at the front again in 1:21. He's now won this 5 times and was about a minute and a half ahead of second place, Sage Canaday. Here's a low-key 100-miler that took place this past weekend in and around San Diego, California. It's basically a fat run that saw 10 finishers of the single-loop route with a mix of city and boardwalk running alongside some mountain trails. Bill Dittman of Phoenix won in 21:28, while top female was Natalie Lee in 23:59, just squeaking in under the 24-hour mark. This weekend will be the final race in the 2019 Ultra Trail World Tour down in Cape Town, South Africa at the Ultra Trail Cape Town, or UTCT. Results next week. Speaking of next week, join me this Thursday at the running event in Austin, Texas for the first ever live edition of Mountain Outhouse News. The show will kick off at 5 p.m. at the Trailhead on the convention floor, December 5th. And with that, thanks for tuning into episode 173 of Outhouse News. The show would not be possible without the support of our Patreon contributors, who help with the production of this show each and every week. Join the Patreon crew at the link below for as little as $2 per month. Huge shout out to our $50 level supporters, Squirrels Nut Butter, Brian Sands, Base Medical Ultramarathon Medical Care Online Course, Ultra Trail Blazers, Sean Trujillo, and the Twisted Fork Ultra out of Park City, as well as our $25 level supporters, Bluebird Running Company, Josh Goldstein, Carrie Savage, Renee Feint, Casey Carter, and Jeff Holbrook. Thanks for checking out the show, and we'll see you next time. If you have crazy stories to share or a question or feedback for the show, please leave a comment below. And finally, if you'd like to own this custom pair of Jam Jam sunglasses, check out the link in the description. Have a shitty week.